The ship landed on the crystal platform with a soft hum. Through the windows, Dahi could see the alien city stretching in every direction. Towers made of light reached toward the purple sky. Bridges of glass connected buildings that floated above the ground. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. She pressed her hand against the cold window. Her reflection looked back at her. A young Korean woman with tired eyes and messy hair tied in a quick bun. She had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. "Time to go," said Junho from behind her. Dahi turned to look at him. Junho was tall and broad, a former soldier who now wore a simple gray suit instead of a uniform. His face showed no fear, but Dahi knew him well enough to see the tension in his jaw. He was scared too. They all were. Yuna stood near the door, clutching a small bag against her chest. She was older than both of them, with gray streaks in her black hair. As a historian, she had spent 40 years studying dead languages and ancient civilizations. She had never imagined she would one day stand before living aliens. The fourth member of their group was Sujin, the youngest at only 26. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms. Her eyes were wide as she looked out at the city. "It is real," she whispered. "It is actually real. Stay close together," Junho said. "Remember why we are here. We speak for all of Earth." The door opened and alien guards stepped inside. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces had no expression. They wore armor that seemed to be made of black metal, and they carried weapons that glowed with soft blue light. One of them spoke in a language that sounded like music. A small device on Dohi's collar translated the words into Korean. "You will come with us. The conclave is waiting." They walked out of the ship and onto the platform. The air smelled strange, like flowers and electricity mixed together. Dahi's heart was beating fast. She had trained for years to be a translator, learning 17 languages before she was 30. But nothing had prepared her for this. The gods led them through the city. Aliens of all kinds stopped to watch them pass. Some had wings. Some had tentacles. Some looked almost human, and some looked like nothing Dahi had ever seen before. All of them stared at the 4 humans with curious eyes. "They are looking at us like we are animals in a zoo," Yuna said quietly. "Maybe to them, we are," Junho replied. They reached a massive building at the center of the city. Its walls were made of white crystal that glowed from inside. Strange symbols were carved into every surface. Dahi found herself staring at them. Something about the patterns felt familiar, though she could not say why. The doors opened, and they entered the great hall of the Galactic Conclave. Dahi had to stop herself from gasping. The hall was enormous. Thousands of seats rose up on every side, filled with aliens from every corner of the galaxy. The ceiling was so high that clouds floated beneath it. Light came from everywhere, and nowhere at once, at the center of the hall, was a raised platform. On it stood a single figure. He was taller than any alien Dahi had seen so far. His robes seemed to be made of starlight itself, shifting and flowing like water. In his hand, he held a long staff covered in golden symbols. His face was old and proud, with eyes that burned like white fire. "That is High Speaker Moldris," the translation device whispered in Dahi's ear. "Keeper of the sacred tongue, leader of the Valith Dominion. He will judge you today." The guards brought the humans to the center of the hall and forced them to kneel. Dahi felt the cold floor against her knees. She kept her head up and her eyes forward. She would not show weakness. Moldris raised his staff, and the entire hall fell silent. When he spoke, his voice filled every corner of the massive room. "Humans," he said, "you stand before the Galactic Conclave. For 10,000 years, we have watched over the civilized species of this galaxy. We have brought peace to warring worlds. We have shared knowledge with those who deserve it. We have protected the weak from the strong. He paused and looked down at the four kneeling figures. And we have kept dangerous species away from the stars. A murmur passed through the crowd. Dahi felt her stomach tighten. We have observed your world for 500 years, Muldris continued. We have seen your wars. We have seen your weapons. We have seen how you treat each other and how you treat your own planet. You are violent. You are greedy. You are young. He stepped closer, and Dahi could feel the power radiating from him like heat from a fire. Your species crawled out of the mud only 200,000 years ago. In that short time, you have nearly destroyed yourselves more than once. You have built weapons that could burn your entire world to ash. You have poisoned your own air and water. You have killed millions of your own kind over differences in belief and skin color. The hall was completely silent now. Every alien was watching. The Conclave has discussed your case for 100 of your years, Muldris said. We have considered every argument. We have listened to those who believe you deserve a chance. We have listened to those who believe you are too dangerous. He raised his staff high. Today, we announce our decision. Humanity will be confined to its birth system. You will not be allowed to travel beyond the boundaries we set. You will not be allowed to contact other species. You will not be allowed to spread your violence to the stars. Junho stood up despite the guards trying to push him back down. You cannot do this, he said. We came here in peace. We have shown that we can change. Muldris looked at him with those burning eyes. Change? Your species has been changing for 200,000 years, and still you make the same mistakes. You speak of peace while building bigger weapons. You speak of unity while dividing yourselves into nations and tribes. You speak of hope while filling your world with hate. We are not perfect, Junho said, but we are trying. Does that count for nothing? It counts for very little, Muldris replied. The galaxy is old, human. We have seen many species like yours. Young, aggressive, full of potential, but also full of danger. Some of them learned to control themselves. Most of them destroyed themselves. We will not let you destroy others. He turned away and raised his staff again. The judgment is final. Humanity is sentenced to isolation. The ritual of sealing will now begin. Dahi watched as Muldris began to move his staff in complex patterns. The golden symbols on it started to glow. A strange chanting filled the air, though she could not see who was making the sound. And then she heard the words. They were not translated by her device. They came directly into her mind, ancient and powerful, and somehow familiar. She knew these sounds. She had heard them before, in old songs and half-forgotten dreams, in the rhythm of her grandmother's voice singing her to sleep as a child. Dahi's hands began to shake. Not from fear. From recognition. She looked at the symbols carved into the walls. She looked at the staff in Muldris's hands. She looked at the way his mouth moved as he chanted . And suddenly, impossibly, she understood. The sacred tongue that Muldris was speaking was not alien at all. It was human. Dahi could not breathe. The words of the chanting filled her head like water filling a cup. Each sound, each syllable, each pause between breaths, created patterns that she recognized deep in her bones. She had spent her whole life studying languages. Korean was her mother tongue, but she had learned English, Chinese, Japanese, French, Arabic, and a dozen others. More importantly, she had studied the ancestors of these languages, Proto-Korean, Proto-Indo-European, the theoretical tongues that existed before writing, before history, before civilization itself. Now she was hearing something older than all of them. And it was not alien. It was the root from which all human languages had grown. Yuna grabbed her arm. The older woman's face was pale. Dahi, she whispered. Do you hear it? Yes, Dahi said. Her voice was barely a sound. The patterns. The structure. I have seen this before. In my research. In the oldest inscriptions we have ever found. Yuna's hand was shaking. This is impossible. Junho looked at them with confusion on his face. What are you talking about? It just sounds like noise to me. That is because you are not listening the right way, Yuna said. She was speaking fast now, her words tumbling over each other. Language is not just sounds. It is patterns, rules, ways of organizing thoughts into words. Every language on Earth shares certain deep patterns because they all came from the same source. What Muldris is speaking right now follows those same patterns. Are you saying that the aliens speak a human language? Junho asked. No, Dahi said. She was starting to understand now, and the understanding was terrifying. I am saying that humans speak an alien language, or what we thought was an alien language. The sacred tongue is not something the aliens created. It is something our ancestors created. A long, long time ago. Muldris continued his chanting. The staff in his hands glowed brighter with each word. The air in the hall felt heavy, like a storm was coming. Sujin pulled out her small tablet. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. I am recording everything, she said. If what you are saying is true, we need proof. We do not need proof, Dohi said. We need to stop him. How? Junho asked. They have weapons. They have guards. They have the power of the entire galaxy behind them. Dahi looked up at Muldris. The high speaker stood above them like a god, speaking words of power that he did not truly understand. He was using a language that was not his. He was calling it sacred without knowing its real origin. I am going to speak, Dahi said. Yuna grabbed her arm tighter. If you interrupt the ritual, they might kill us. If I do not interrupt it, they will seal us away forever. Earth will be cut off from the stars for the rest of time. Dahi looked at her friends. I have to try. Junho studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do what you need to do. We will protect you. Dahi closed her eyes. She let the sounds of the chanting wash over her. She stopped trying to analyze them with her conscious mind, and instead let her deeper instincts take over. The patterns became clearer. The meanings began to emerge. The sacred tongue was indeed a proto-language, the ancestor of all human speech. But it had not evolved on Earth. It had been brought to Earth long ago, before the pyramids, before the ice ages, before humans were even fully human. Someone had carried this language across the stars and planted it in the minds of primitive people. And those primitive people had remembered it, not in their writings or their histories, but in their blood, in the way mothers sang to their babies, in the rhythm of drums and the flow of poetry, in the deep grammar that shaped every word humanity had ever spoken. Dohi opened her eyes. She stood up. The guards moved toward her, weapons raised. But Junho and Sujin stepped in front of her, blocking their path. Give her time, Junho said firmly. Mold, our IS noticed the disturbance. He paused his chanting and looked down at the humans with annoyance. What is the meaning of this? The ritual cannot be interrupted. I am sorry, Dahi said. She was not sorry at all. But I have something to say. You will be silent, Muldris commanded. You are being judged, not consulted. Then judge this, Dahi said. And she began to speak in the sacred tongue. The first word came out rough and uncertain. She had never spoken this language before, at least not in this life. But her mouth knew how to shape the sounds. Her throat knew how to make the tones. The knowledge was in her cells, written into her DNA by thousands of generations of human ancestors. The second word was easier. The third was easier still. By the time she spoke the 10th word, The entire hall had fallen silent. Every alien was staring at her. The translation devices had stopped working because they could not process what they were hearing. Moldris's face changed. His proud expression cracked. His white fire eyes grew wide with shock. His hands began to tremble. His staff fell from his grip and clattered on the floor. "Impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." Dahi kept speaking. The words flowed out of her like a river finding its way to the sea. She spoke of the sky and the stars. She spoke of children and parents. She spoke of home and loss and the long journey through darkness. The aliens in the hall began to react. Some fell to their knees. Some covered their ears. Some fled toward the exits, unable to handle what they were hearing. A few of the oldest species beings who had lived for thousands of years began to weep. Yun and moved closer to Junho and Sujin. "She is reciting something," she said, translating as best she could. "A history. A creation story. She's saying that long ago there was a great civilization. The first speakers. They were the ones who created the sacred tongue. They ruled the galaxy for millions of years. What happened to them?" Sujin asked. "They fell. Something destroyed them. War, disease, natural disaster, she does not know. But before they died, they scattered. Some of them went to distant stars and became the ancestors of the elder races. And some of them," Yuna's voice broke. "Some of them went to Earth. They chose a young world at the edge of the galaxy. They erased their own memories and changed their own bodies. They wanted to start over, to become something new. Humans," Junho said. "We are their descendants." "Not just their descendants," Yuna said. "We are them. The first speakers did not die. They became us. They hid themselves in plain sight, waiting for the day when they would remember who they really were." Dai finished speaking. The silence in the hall was absolute. Every eye was on her. The weight of attention from 1,000 different species pressed down on her, like a physical force. Moldris stepped down from his platform. His robes had stopped flowing. His white fire eyes had dimmed. He looked old now, old and confused and afraid. "How do you know these words?" he asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "The first tongue has been dead for 100,000 years. No living being has spoken it since before my species even existed. How can a human, a primitive creature from a forgotten world, speak a language of the gods?" Dahi met his gaze. She was not afraid anymore. The ancient knowledge in her blood had given her strength. "Because it was never your language," she said. "It was always ours. You did not create the sacred tongue. You inherited it from beings who left the stars long ago. Those beings went to Earth. They became human. And now, after all this time, we have come back." Moldris stared at her. Behind him, his staff lay forgotten on the floor, its golden symbols dark and cold. "This changes everything," he said. "Yes," Dai agreed. "It does." The great hall of the conclave exploded into chaos. Aliens of every shape and size were shouting, screaming, arguing with each other. Some demanded that Dahi be silenced. Others fell to the floor in worship. Species that had been allies for 10,000 years suddenly turned on each other, old agreements breaking apart like glass dot. He stood at the center of it all, surrounded by her 3 companions. Junho had placed himself in front of her, his soldier's instincts taking over. Yuna was talking quickly into her recording device, trying to capture everything that was happening. Sujin was still running analyzes on her tablet, her eyes wide with disbelief at the results she was seeing. Moldris raised his hands and called for order. It took several minutes for the hall to quiet down. Even then, the silence was fragile, ready to break at any moment. "This is a trick," said a voice from the upper seats. The speaker was a being made entirely of blue light. The humans are lying. They have found some way to fake the sacred tongue. Impossible, said another voice. This one belonging to a creature that looked like a giant insect. No one can fake the first language. It is not just sounds. It is meaning. It is truth. If the human girl could speak it, then the words themselves are proof that she knows what she is saying. Then explain how this is possible, the blue being demanded. Humans are barely sentient. They have only had space travel for a few generations. How can they be connected to the first speakers? Muldris held up his hand for silence. He walked slowly toward Dahi, his ancient eyes studying her face as if seeing her for the first time. Girl, he said, how did you learn to speak these words? Dahi took a deep breath. I did not learn them. I remembered them. Remembered? From where? From the place where all human knowledge lives. In our songs. In our stories. In the way we speak to our children. Dahi touched her chest. The first language never died. It just went to sleep. It has been sleeping in human hearts for 100,000 years, waiting for the day when we would need it again. Yuna stepped forward. Despite her fear, her voice was steady. She was a historian, and this was the greatest historical moment she had ever witnessed. May I speak? She asked. Moldaristad, the high speaker, nodded slowly. I have spent my entire life studying the origins of human language, Yuna said. All human languages, no matter how different they seem, share certain deep patterns. The way we build sentences. The way we express time and space. The way we organize ideas. These patterns are so fundamental that most linguists believe they are built into the human brain itself. She pulled up data on her tablet and projected it into the air for everyone to see. We call this universal grammar. For centuries, we thought it was just how human brains develop naturally. But now I understand the truth. These patterns are not natural. They are inherited. They come from the first speakers, passed down through 100,000 years of human history. Sujin spoke up next. Her voice was higher and younger, but just as determined. I am a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms. Since we arrived on this world, I have been scanning everything I can. She showed her tablet to Muldris. The genetic structures of the elder races share certain markers with human DNA. Not many, just fragments. But they are there. At some point in the distant past, we had common ancestors. The hall erupted again. This time, the arguments were louder and more violent. Guards had to separate several groups who looked ready to fight. You cannot expect us to believe this, shouted a creature with 100 eyes. You are claiming that humans, the most primitive species in the known galaxy, are actually the descendants of the greatest civilization that ever existed. It is absurd, is it? Dahi asked. She turned to face the assembled aliens. Her fear was gone now, replaced by a strange calm. Look at us. Really look at us. Yes, we are young. Yes, we have made terrible mistakes. But we have also done incredible things. She walked in a slow circle, addressing the entire conclave. We crawled out of caves and taught ourselves to write. We looked at the stars and figured out how to reach them. We split the atom and mapped our own genes. We did all of this without help from anyone, without guidance, without the knowledge that any of you had. Her voice grew stronger. The elder races had everything handed to them. You inherited technology and wisdom from the civilizations that came before, but humans had nothing. We were alone on a small planet at the edge of the galaxy. We had to figure everything out for ourselves. And we did. She stopped in front of Muldris. That is what the first speakers wanted. They did not want their children to be given power. They wanted their children to earn it. So they erased their own memories and started over as primitives. They let themselves struggle and fail and suffer, because they knew that was the only way to truly grow. Moldris was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with age and doubt. If what you say is true, then everything we believe is wrong. The sacred tongue is not a gift from the gods. It is just a language spoken by ordinary beings who happen to come before us. The first speakers are not divine. They are just ancestors. Yes, Dahi said gently. That is exactly what they are. And we are their children. All of us, humans and aliens alike. We are all family, separated by time and space, but connected by the same ancient blood. A new voice spoke from the upper seats. It was thin and very old, barely louder than a whisper. The speaker was a being so ancient that its body was more machine than flesh. Its name, the translation device told Dohi, was Elder Tuvak, the oldest living member of the conclave. I remember, Elder Tuvak said. The entire hall fell silent. I am 12,000 years old, the elder continued. When I was young, before I replaced most of my body with machines, I heard stories from beings who were even older. They spoke of the time before, when the first speakers walked among the stars. They said the first speakers were kind. They said the first speakers were wise. And they said that one day, the first speakers would return. Elder Tuvak pointed one mechanical arm at Dahi. I believe this human girl is telling the truth. I believe the first speakers went to Earth and became human. I believe they have finally come home. The words hung in the air like a prophecy fulfilled. Moldris picked up his staff from the floor. He looked at it for a long moment, studying the golden symbols that covered its surface. Then he looked at Dahi. These symbols, he said. Can you read them? Dahi stepped closer. She let her eyes move over the ancient markings. The knowledge came to her slowly, like waking from a deep sleep. They tell a story, she said, of a people who traveled the stars for 1,000,000 years, of a home that was lost and a family that was scattered, of children who were sent to grow in the darkness so that one day they could bring light back to the universe. She touched the staff gently. This was made by human hands. A very long time ago, before we remembered who we were. But we made it. We made all of this. Moldris bowed his head. When he looked up again, his eyes were different. The pride was gone, replaced by something like wonder. Then perhaps, he said, it is time for the conclave to change. 3 days passed after Dahi spoke in the sacred tongue. 3 days of chaos, arguments, and negotiations. The humans were moved from their prison ship to a proper guest quarters, though guards still watched every door. Dahi spent most of that time sleeping. Speaking the first language had drained something deep inside her. It was like running a race that used muscles she did not know she had. Yuna and Sujin stayed with her, taking turns watching over her while she recovered. Junho met with alien leaders every day. He had no special knowledge of ancient languages, but he understood people. He knew how to talk, how to listen, how to find common ground between enemies. It was why Earth had chosen him to lead this mission. On the morning of the 4th day, Dahi woke feeling stronger. She found her friends gathered around a holographic display, watching news feeds from across the galaxy. What is happening? She asked. Junho looked up. His face was tired but hopeful. Your little speech has caused quite a stir. Half the galaxy thinks you are a prophet. The other half thinks you are a fraud. Either way, everyone is talking about it. Sujin pulled up a data chart. I have been analyzing the genetic information the conclave has shared with us. The markers I found earlier were just the beginning. There are dozens of species in this galaxy that share DNA fragments with humans. Not close relatives, but distant cousins. All descended from the same original population. The first speakers, Yuna said, they did not just seed Earth. They seeded the entire galaxy. Different groups went to different worlds. Over millions of years, they evolved into different species. But we all come from the same source. Dahi sat down heavily. That is a lot to take in. There is more, Juno said. He did not look happy. The conclave is divided. Some species want to accept humans as equals. Others want to destroy us before we become a threat. And some want to worship us as the returned ancestors. None of those options sound good, Dahi said. No, they do not. But Moldris has called a special session for this afternoon. He says he has something important to show everyone. Junho rubbed his tired eyes. I hope it is something that will help us, not hurt us. That afternoon, the 4 humans were brought back to the Great Hall. This time, they were not in chains. They walked freely, though guards still surrounded them. The aliens in the seats watched them pass with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and hope. Moldari stood at the center of the hall. Beside him was a large crystal container covered in glowing symbols. Inside the container, something moved in the darkness. Thank you all for coming, Moldris said. His voice was different now. Less proud, more thoughtful. The events of 3 days ago have forced me to reconsider everything I believed. I have spent my entire life as the keeper of the sacred tongue. I thought I understood its meaning. I was wrong. He touched the crystal container. After the human Dohi spoke, I went to the deepest archives of my people. Places that have not been opened in 10,000 years. I searched for anything that might confirm or deny her claims. And I found this. The container opened. Light poured out, so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, a small object floated in the air above the container. It was a simple stone tablet, covered in writing. This tablet is over 100,000 years old, Moldris said. It is the oldest artifact in our possession. For generations, we believed it was a holy text written by the gods themselves. No one could read it. The language was too ancient, too different from anything we knew. He turned to Dohi. But you can read it, can you not? Dahi stepped forward. The tablet floated down to her level. She looked at the markings carved into its surface. They were similar to the symbols on Moldris's staff, but older, rougher, more human. Yes, she said. I can read it. Then please, tell us what it says. Dahi took a deep breath. The words came to her slowly, like memories from a dream. It says, to our children who will come after. We are the first speakers, and this is our final message. Our time is ending. A great darkness has come, and we cannot stop it. But we will not let our knowledge die with us. She paused. Her throat felt tight. We have sent our children to the far corners of the galaxy. Some will remember who they are. Some will forget. But all of them carry our blood and our language. One day, when the darkness has passed, they will find each other again. They will remember, and they will rebuild. Dahi looked up at Moldris. To the humans of Earth, you are the sleepers. We made you forget so that you could grow without our shadow hanging over you. We wanted you to become strong on your own. We wanted you to make your own choices, your own mistakes, your own victories. Now it is time to wake up. Remember who you are. Come home. The hall was completely silent. There is more, Dahi said. The sacred tongue is not magic. It is science. The patterns of the first language are woven into the structure of the universe itself. Those who speak it with true understanding can do things that seem impossible. But this power was not given to us. We discovered it. And now we give it to you. She finished reading and stepped back. Tears were running down her face. She had just read a message from her ancestors, written 100,000 years before she was born. It was the most incredible and the most painful thing she had ever experienced. Moldris took the tablet gently. He looked at it with new eyes, seeing not a holy relic but a letter from the past. "All these years," he said quietly, "all these generations, we built our entire civilization on the belief that the first speakers were gods, that the sacred tongue was proof of our divine purpose. And it was all just history." "History is not just anything," Una said. She stepped forward, her historian's heart unable to stay silent. "History is who we are. It is how we understand ourselves. Your ancestors thought the tablet was holy because the knowledge in it was too important to lose. They were right. The message survived for 100,000 years. Now we can finally understand it. But what do we do with this understanding?" asked a voice from the seats. It was Elder Tuvok, the ancient being who had spoken before. "If humans are the descendants of the first speakers, what does that mean for the rest of us?" Junho stepped forward. "It means nothing has to change." "Not really," the aliens murmured in confusion. "Look," Junho said, "we did not come here to take over. We did not come here to be worshipped. We came here because we wanted to join the galactic community as equals. That has not changed. But you are not equals," Moldris said. "If you are truly the sleepers described in this message, then you are more than equals. You are the inheritors of the first speakers. You have a claim to everything they built." "We do not want to claim anything," Dahi said. "The first speakers sent us to Earth because they wanted us to become something new. Not copies of them, but our own people. We've spent 100,000 years doing exactly that. We are not the first speakers. We are humans. And we are proud of what we have become." She looked around the bus hall at the thousands of alien faces watching her. "The message on the tablet says that all the children of the first speakers will find each other and rebuild together. It does not say that humans should rule. It says we should work together. All of us. As family." Moldris was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. "Perhaps that is the true meaning of the sacred tongue," he said. "Not power. Not worship. Just connection. A way for the scattered children of the first speakers to recognize each other and remember that they are not alone." He turned to face the conclave. "I propose that we end the trial of humanity, not because they are superior or inferior, but because judgment itself was the wrong approach. The humans are not visitors or enemies or subjects. They are family, and it is time we welcomed them home." 1 month had passed since Dohi spoke the sacred tongue and changed the galaxy forever. The great hall of the conclave was full again, but the mood was completely different from before. There were no chains this time, no guards with weapons, no judgment. Instead, there were banners of celebration and lights that danced like stars. Dahi stood at the center of the hall, wearing a simple white dress that Una had helped her choose. It was not fancy or expensive. She had insisted on that. She did not want to look like a queen or a goddess. She wanted to look like what she was, a human being. Beside her stood Junho in a formal black suit, looking uncomfortable but proud. Una wore a traditional hanbok, the elegant Korean dress that she had brought from Earth just in case there was something worth celebrating. Sujin had found a dress that was half human, half alien in design, symbolizing the connection between worlds. Moldris approached them slowly. He no longer carried his staff of authority. Instead, he held a small crystal box in his hands. "On behalf of the Galactic Conclave," he said, "I present this gift to the people of Earth." He opened the box. Inside was a glowing sphere no bigger than a marble. It pulsed with soft light, like a tiny star captured in glass. "This is a seed of knowledge," Moldris explained. "It contains the complete archive of first speaker text that the Conclave has collected over the past 100,000 years. Every word, every symbol, every fragment of the sacred tongue that we have ever found. He placed the sphere in Dohi's hands. It belongs to your people. It always did. We were just keeping it safe until you were ready to receive it. Dohi held the sphere carefully. She could feel the weight of history in her palms. 100,000 years of lost knowledge. 100,000 years of waiting. All of it now returned to the children who had forgotten where they came from. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "We will treasure this. We will study it and learn from it. And we will share what we discover with everyone who wants to know." The crowd of aliens cheered. The sound was strange, a mixture of roars and clicks and musical tones, but the meaning was clear. They were happy. They were hopeful. They believed that this moment was the beginning of something wonderful. After the ceremony, there was a great feast. Foods from 1,000 different worlds were served on tables that stretched across the hall. Dahi tried something blue that tasted like honey mixed with thunder. Junho ate carefully, suspicious of anything that moved on its own. Yuna and Sujin explored together, taking notes on everything they encountered. Elder Tuvok approached Dahi while she was resting near a fountain that flowed upward instead of down. "You have done a remarkable thing," the ancient being said. Its mechanical voice was soft, almost gentle. "In 12,000 years of life, I have never seen the Conclave change so quickly. You have given them something they did not know they needed." "What is that?" Dahi asked. "Hope?" Elder Tuvok's many eyes focused on her face. "The elder races have been dying for a long time. Not physically, but spiritually. We have lived so long that we forgot why life matters. We preserved the sacred tongue because we were told to, not because we understood why. We followed traditions without questioning them. We grew old and tired and set in our ways." The elder made a sound that might have been a sigh. "But you humans are young. You are still curious. You still ask questions and seek answers. You have reminded us what it feels like to be alive." Dahi did not know what to say. She had never thought of herself as remarkable. She was just a translator, a student of languages, a person who loved learning about how different people communicated. "I did not do this alone," she said finally. "I have my friends. I have my team. And I have all of humanity behind me, even if they do not know it yet." "Yes," Elder Tuvok agreed. "That is what makes humans special. You work together. You support each other. You build things that no individual could build alone." The elder reached out with one mechanical arm and touched Dohi's shoulder gently. "Keep that spirit. Never lose it. It is worth more than any ancient language." Later that night, when the feast was ending and the aliens were starting to leave, Junho gathered the 4 humans together in a quiet corner of the hall. "So," he said, "what happens now?" "We go home," Yuna said. "We bring the seed of knowledge back to Earth. We share it with everyone. And then?" Junho asked. "Then everything changes," Sujin said. She was smiling, but her eyes were serious. "The knowledge in that sphere will transform human science, human culture, human everything. We will learn things about ourselves that we never imagined. We will remember who we really are. Are you worried?" Dahi asked her. "A little. Change is always scary, but it is also necessary." Sujin looked up at the alien sky visible through the crystal ceiling. "For 100,000 years, humans have been alone. We looked at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. Now we know. We are not alone. We never were. We just forgot." Dahi nodded. She understood exactly what Sujin meant. "I used to dream about the stars," Dahi said softly. "When I was a little girl, I would lie on the roof of my grandmother's house and watch the sky. I always felt like the stars were calling to me. Like they were saying, 'Come home, come home.'" She laughed quietly. "I thought it was just my imagination. Childhood fantasy." But maybe it was something deeper. Maybe it was the first language in my blood, trying to remind me where I came from. Junho put his hand on her shoulder. Whatever it was, it led us here. It helped us save humanity's future. I would say that is worth listening to. What about you, Yuna? Dahi asked. You are the historian. How do you think history will remember this day? Yuna thought for a moment. I think they will remember it as the day humanity grew up. For all our history, we have acted like children, fighting over toys, arguing about whose imaginary friend was real, afraid of the dark. But today, we became adults. We learned where we came from. We took responsibility for who we are. We joined the larger family of intelligent life in the universe. She smiled, and suddenly she looked younger, happier, more alive than Dohi had ever seen her. I think that is worth remembering, Yuna said. The next morning, the 4 humans boarded their ship to return to Earth. Thousands of aliens gathered to see them off. Moldrus was there, along with Elder Tuvok and representatives from dozens of different species. They waved and cheered as the ship rose into the sky. Dahi watched through the window as the alien city grew smaller beneath them. The crystal towers sparkled in the purple sunlight. The bridges of light connected buildings that floated like dreams. It was still beautiful, but it was no longer frightening. It was family. Dahi, Junho said from the pilot's seat. There is a message coming in. It is from Moldrus. Put it through. Moldrus's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling, something Dahi had never seen before. I wanted to say goodbye properly, he said, and to thank you. You have given us a great gift, Dahi of Earth. Not just the truth about the past, but hope for the future. Whatever happens next, the galaxy will never be the same. Neither will we, Dahi replied. But maybe that is a good thing. I believe it is. Moldrus nodded slowly. Safe travels, daughter of the first speakers. May the sacred tongue guide you home. The screen went dark. Dewey turned to look at her friends. Junho was piloting the ship with steady hands. Yuna was reviewing her notes, already planning how to share what they had learned. Sujin was studying the seed of knowledge, her eyes full of wonder. They were just 4 ordinary people from a small planet at the edge of the galaxy. But they had changed everything. Ready? Junho asked. Dewey smiled. Ready. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, and the stars stretched into lines of light around them. Earth waiting. Home was waiting. And the future, whatever it held, was waiting too. They had remembered who they were. Now it was time to become who they could be. The sacred tongue had spoken, and the universe had listened. Humanity was finally awake.